So just a few days ago, the LA Clippers lost to the Phoenix Suns in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. And to be honest, they deserve a lot of credit for their run in this year's postseason, since they were down 2-0 in the first round versus the Mavericks and down 2-0 versus the Utah Jazz in the second round, and they came back in all of those series when everyone was doubting them. And in this last series, without their best player in Kawhi Leonard, they forced the Phoenix Suns to a 6-game series that could have very well went to 7 games because there were some close games in. But the fact that they lost definitely brings up questions about their roster, and the biggest one is whether or not their best player in Kawhi Leonard is going to stay. And although there are some people who think Kawhi is going to leave and join a team like the Warriors, in today's video I'll be giving 4 reasons why I think Kawhi Leonard will stay on the Clippers. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. I literally post every single day. Also, it would help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers, and that would be appreciated. Also, comment on this video, start a conversation with me as I do respond to all of my comments, and play that intro. First reason I think Kawhi Leonard will stay on the Clippers is the fact that the Clippers this year in the playoffs really impressed me, and they probably impressed him. And to be honest, this is the biggest reason I think he'll stay, because you have to realize that, in my opinion at least, this Clippers team would have went to the NBA Finals if Kawhi Leonard was healthy. And although I probably would have predicted the Bucks to win that series, they definitely could have won that series, meaning that if Kawhi Leonard doesn't get injured, the Clippers could have possibly won the championship. And although Kawhi was the one that got injured, it's a good sign that the team was so good without him, meaning that against Phoenix they definitely would have beat the Suns. But nonetheless, in this year's playoff, the Clippers showed that they're one of the better teams in the league. We all knew they had the potential to be this good, but this season they just really showed it. Because when they were down 2-0 versus the Mavericks, most people were thinking that the Clippers were actually done for. And they showed a lot of grit and determination to come back and win that series. Then versus the Utah Jazz, they went down 2-0 again, and I honestly thought for sure they would lose that series as well. But surprisingly, they came back and won the next 4 games, and they did it without Kawhi Leonard in Game 5 and Game 6, which was definitely impressive. And then the rest of the Phoenix Suns series, they didn't have Kawhi the whole series, yet they won 2 games, and the series could have easily went to 7 games, or the Clippers could have won it if the ball went in the right place. Because don't forget, in Game 2 we all know DeAndre Ayton got that lob or whatever to win the game, and then Paul George missed those 2 free throws. And say what you want about Paul George's clutch ability, I don't think he's gonna miss 2 clutch free throws very often, maybe 1, but he's not gonna miss both. But nonetheless, the Clippers didn't win it, and the Suns deserve some credit. But I honestly think the Clippers, if they lost in the first or second round, I would think that Kawhi is gonna leave. But after seeing what they did against Phoenix and how they beat the Jazz without him, definitely shows me that this Clipper team has what it takes to win a championship. And I think that's a big reason why Kawhi Leonard will stay. The second reason Kawhi Leonard won't leave the LA Clippers is the fact that he really likes to live in LA, or at least that's what I assume, because he personally didn't tell me. But a big reason why he went to the Clippers in the first place was the fact that he wanted to live close to his family, and living there definitely has to be a big deal to him if he was willing to go to the Clippers. And I doubt that has changed, so I think that's a big reason he would stay, because if he wanted to join a team like the Knicks, Mavericks, or any other team that's rumored to potentially sign him, he would be moving away from his family. That was a big reason why he left the Raptors. And in my opinion, if he doesn't stay with the Clippers, it's gonna make his move of leaving the Raptors look so much worse. Because it's very clear to me that if Kawhi Leonard stayed on the Raptors, they would have made the NBA Finals, at least in the bubble. And the main reason he left Toronto was because he didn't like living there, which is understandable, because you shouldn't live a significant part of your life unhappy if you don't have to. But if he is to leave Los Angeles, he would just be leaving his hometown only after 2 years. Whereas if he could have stayed in Toronto for a year or 2, they could have at least won another championship or had way more success than he's having it with the Clippers. And I'm sure Kawhi is not thinking about the Toronto situation and the factors heading into this. I'm just saying in general. But if Kawhi ends up staying on the Clippers, I think a big reason he'll do that is due to the fact that he likes living in LA, probably more than any other city because of his family and stuff. Although I think on the Warriors he would be fine because they're kind of close, but I don't want him to go there. The third reason I believe Kawhi will stay on the LA Clippers is the fact that last season, as we all know it, Paul George played terrible in the postseason, and he was one of the most hated players in the NBA because of how terrible terrible he was. But this postseason, he was actually a very good player, and he really stepped up his game as he came through in multiple big moments and had multiple big games, and he helped the Clippers go all the way to the conference finals. And this was the first postseason in a minute where he actually looked like a legitimate great second option, which is what he's expected to be and what he's paid to be. And I think if Paul George had a bad playoffs or something like he did in prior years, then I thought Kawhi would leave, because you can't win a championship with your second star player being as inconsistent as he is. But Paul George has proven me wrong, and he's shown me that he could play well in the postseason. I think Kawhi is going to realize that he can win a championship with this roster, as I said before, and the fact that him and PG are good of a duo to make very deep playoff runs definitely will increase the chance of him staying. The fourth reason I believe Kawhi Leonard will stay on the Clippers is the fact that I said this is a team that did very well in the postseason and proved a lot of people wrong. And a lot of times what happens is that a team will have a great season, then the next year they'll have multiple players who are free agents, and that causes several players and important players to leave the team. For the Clippers, their only free agents that actually matter is obviously Kawhi Leonard, who I think they will re-sign, but also Serge Ibaka, but he has a player option and he had a very lackluster season, so there's absolutely no way he's going to decline that option and go to a different team and get less money. And they have Reggie Jackson, who absolutely balled out during the postseason, and he's an unrestricted free agent. And to be honest, I think there's a realistic chance that he leaves, since he's going to be looking for a lot of money after that great postseason. But I do think there's a small chance that they could re-sign him, but even though Jackson was playing amazing in the playoffs and stuff, and he deserves a lot of credit, I still think they could get his output if they played a few more players a few more minutes, and guys like Terrence Mann, and hope that he develops. No disrespect to Reggie at all, I just think like guys like Terrence Mann and Luke Kennard could step up. And I think the fact that they are bringing back nearly their whole roster and trying to run it back to win the championship is the reason why Kawhi will stay. So to conclude the video, I do think Kawhi Leonard will stay on the Clippers, and as long as he doesn't either go to the Brooklyn Nets or the Golden State Warriors, to be honest, I don't really care where he goes. I wouldn't mind seeing him like stay in Los Angeles and stuff. Their rivalry with the Lakers is pretty like entertaining to see, and I have like a newfound respect for this team, because going into this postseason, I was kind of a Clippers hater. Like, I didn't let it affect my videos or anything, but I just wasn't cheering for them. But as the playoffs went on, I couldn't just ignore the amount of passion, grit, and determination this team played with, and I slowly became a fan. Even in the conference finals, I was low-key cheering for the Clippers to maybe not win it, but make it a really competitive series. And maybe if they went to a Game 7, I would be cheering for them. But nonetheless, I think the Clippers are definitely a scary team next year, and I think they would have made the finals this year. And I think it sucks for them, but they should definitely be happy about this season, especially if they can secure Kawhi. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think Kawhi is staying. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow, because I post every single day. Also, to help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Comment on this video, start a conversation, as I do respond to all of my comments. And play that outro.